You're watching Voyager on UPN.
You're watching the series finale of Star Trek Voyager on UPN.
And now the conclusion of Star Trek Voyager on UPN.
Star Trek Voyager series finale was brought to you in part by Honda Certified Used Cars. Great value and all the reliability of a Honda. Smirnoff Ice, see where it takes you. And Sprint PCS, the clear alternative to cellular.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Chilporial. Today's Chilporial will be a Star Trek themed one, and with me I have a great guest who I haven't had on since the days of Trekkporial. Let's welcome Jonathan J.K., the creator of Star Trek Voyager Season 8, also known as TrekkieTrekTrekker. How you doing? Thanks for being here.
I forgot I have that account.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem. Thanks for doing this. I figure we get something get something going again. And the thing that really got me, and I figure we'd start with this, the video that you made that actually really interested me. And this is something I've been arguing about on X for the longest time, is just like, one thing that, I mean, I'm sure you've seen as many, probably even more documentaries about Star Trek than I have. And the thing that they keep pushing so much is just how progressive it is. And yes, Mr. Roddenberry was progressive when coming to making Star Trek with, a whole bunch of progressive ideals, tolerance, being against, discrimination, basically social justice. But there was also conservative elements. There were things that were old fashioned that still the people on both sides of the political aisle related to. And that's kind of what I wanted to, that's what I wanted to start bringing out about. So that video was great, by the way.
So you're talking about the one titled "Is Star Trek Only Progressive?"
Correct.
Right. Yeah, that one had a bee in my bonnet because Tim Russ started this by putting out a meme saying, why do conservatives watch something that they don't understand? It's like, why would you lambast half the fan base like that?
I don't even think he watches it, so I don't think he's qualified to even make that statement personally. I am not convinced any of the actors watch the stuff.
Well, you can. That's probably true to an extent, because even with the guys who are doing the Delta Flyers, can't remember their names now. Not Harry Kim. I'm so engrossed in the character names.
Robert Duncan McNeil.
Robert Duncan McNeil. They watched Voyager together, and now they're doing DS9 for the first time, and it's 2025. This show ended in 1999. So what were they doing for the past 26 years? Went to all those conventions and they never watched DS9. It's like, what?
I guess I don't know what Garrett Wang's been doing, but I know Robert Duncan McNeil's been continuing to do directing work in television. Like, I see his name on a lot of shows that I've watched. Yeah, I don't think he's a bad director. Him, Jonathan Frakes. It's just now that they work for New Trek, and they'll do whatever they'll take whatever they can get. They'll take whatever job they can get.
But what you're sort of alluding to is there's a bubble. I mean, everyone keeps talking about the Hollywood bubble, and I think
they're all insufferable. Like, I follow Robert Picardo. Robert Picardo made some comments. I'm just like, bro, you're out. I mean, bro, you're out of touch. You're out of touch. And Jerry Ryan, I can be forgiving Jerry Ryan because she's hot and she's women tend to
That's
lean
sexist.
left. Women tend to lean left, because of something about bodies and choices or something like that. But that's not the point. But yeah, and I don't think the other actors I've heard a lot. I mean, I know Robert Duncan McNeil follows people that he agrees with. I don't know. Kate Mulgrew doesn't say anything. Robert Beltran doesn't give a shit. Like give me money. Robert Beltran's like, give me money, I'll do it. Like Star Trek Prodigy, for instance. Have you watched Star Trek Prodigy? They brought back
No.
Kate Mulgrew as Janeway, CGI Janeway, and CGI.
I know
Chakotay.
of it, but I don't watch it.
Yeah, I haven't watched it either. I mean, I've told it was good, but it's new Trek, and it's basically them trying to make Star Trek the Clone Wars. Basically, at least that's what I see. I see droids. It looks more like Star Wars than Star Trek. So, yeah.
To go back on, I was going to say the comments they make. It can be very hard to not understand you're in a bubble, because the general consensus surrounding you is going to be one of, well, we're right. Of course we're right, because we are doing good things, allegedly doing good things by making those TV shows. But we had a similar situation here, but for political reasons, like not the political, what is the political thing you call it? When it's just between people arguing, like, I can't remember the word now, but I'm talking about serious political stuff that happened in Hong Kong. And actors and actresses here couldn't speak out against the government. And I knew one of them, and they admitted that, listen, all the actors, he was saying this to me, listen, all the actors, they're on the people's side, but they just can't say anything because they'll just lose their jobs. And it was obviously much more serious here because of the way the government here is conducting itself. Whereas you're talking about, it's on the tip of my tongue. You're talking about like human politics, not government politics. Social politics. There we go. It's about the social issues, but here it's about actual
social
government
justice.
Politics. Yeah. So
Okay.
they're all sort of trying to get in on that, and then you hear about, say, Mel Gibson on the Joe Rogan show saying,
I saw that.
You got to say these things, you got to do those things to stay in to get the jobs. So it's the bubble that they're in, or the echo chamber that they're in, is propping itself up deliberately. Also, I can admit, I can give them the benefit of the doubt unknowingly.
I'll be honest. You know what I think? I think the reason why they feel so free to do this stuff is because with New Trek, I don't think anybody cares. Like Alex Kurtzman doesn't care. Akiva Goldsman, they're all. I mean, I'm going to say this: they're all betas. All the people that work for New Trek, they're like, oh, do whatever you want. They suck up to the actors. Back in the day, Rick Berman didn't take any shit. Like they were very strict on the acting. They were strict on being on time. There was a toxicity, and I miss that toxicity because they produced good Star Trek because of that toxicity. I mean, Kate Mulgrew always complained about having they were working 12 to 14 hours every day filming Voyager, and I'm sure it was the same for all the shows. I think original series. By the way, before I get started, there's some people in the chat. So we got David Glenn. What's up, David? How are you? And we got Salty Traveling Sea, $2. Damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a movie critic. Yeah, touche. So, and we're getting some political stuff. Keir Starmer, oh boy. Yeah, I've been hearing about all about that on X and all that. But yeah, no, we're not here. We're not here to talk about real world issues. We want to keep the politics. We want to keep real world politics out of Star Trek. But it's always been about that. It's always been about having the allegory. Star Trek has always been woke. I'm sure you heard that one. I'm sure you heard that one before.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people can't make the distinction between the progressiveness of old Trek and the progressiveness of this I don't want to call it Trek, but this new incarnation of what they think that TV show was. And it's very hard to sort of sit down, pay attention, and realize, because people's politics influence their thinking so much. And I've been told that in America you have a slogan which is, correct me if I'm wrong, something like the political is personal, or the personal is political, or something. There's this slogan.
Personal. I don't know if
where everything is political. in America, whereas in other countries probably not so. And so it's very hard to separate. Once you've aligned to a political party, it's very hard to separate yourself from thinking from the other perspective of someone else's efforts in such a TV show like this. That's why
Yeah,
I think,
mean, you have to. I mean, if you have to you have to start off like not be disinterested in politics. I mean, I've gotten more interested in politics because of a certain event that happened in 2020 that shall remain, nameless, especially when the policies of politicians, start to take away, some freedoms and conveniences. Then I might have a problem with that. But I was just talking about that. There's an episode, the Voyager episode, Living Witness, I watched during the pandemic, and I just thought how relevant that was, especially because this was during, I think, the whole George Floyd thing going on, and people were protesting, and there was people were lying. There was mischaracterizations of there was mischaracterizations going around, which seems to be the thing the media has been doing. So I mean, yeah, it's and then you get shows like Picard and Discovery where they tell you what to think instead of having the food for thought, which is what made earlier episodes, Star Trek, in my opinion, timeless.
right? Yeah, and you can see that because evidently, because the new stuff just there's no timelessness quality to it.
So I like
talking about those episodes.
Yeah, so obviously the progressive stuff, social justice themes of social justice, identity, gender identity, discrimination, anti-war, like you named Private Little War. That was the Vietnam episode where they had the arm, the Klingons were there, Federation was there. There was the mountain people, there was the town people, there were the village people, and then there was like the mountain people.
Yeah.
And the Klingons were arming the mountain people, and they realized, okay, Tyree, Tyree, I know you're peaceful, but they're gonna kill all of you if you don't fight back. And we'll help you do that. And they provided arms just to balance everything out. So but yeah, what, like, I was looking at your conservative side. So your conservative side seems to be more the Drumhead. I think Drumhead was an example of a conservative episode where they talk about people, you're leaning on rights, you're leaning on people's rights by creating this atmosphere of fear and paranoia, basically. Trying to think.
Measure of a Man.
Yeah, Measure of a Man was an interesting one because you put that down as both progressive and conservative.
So yeah, this let's go back to what Tim Ross was saying. He's saying that conservatives are watching Star Trek and they don't understand it, and they end the video after listing all the what I think are good examples, well-known examples of conservative episodes, along with some progressive episodes. And at the end, I make the point, but how do progressive people not see the conservatism that's inherent to Star Trek? So why don't they understand what they're watching? Rather than just putting out a pithy meme, if you make a video and then you can just illustrate the sort of madness or the insanity of just making a point and not really backing it up, because memes are cheap. Anyone can make a meme and it hits in a certain way, but it is only one facet of the actual issue.
Yeah.
And something like The Sound of Her Voice is about duty, courage, honor. And you don't get those things on a sort of progressive side in the same way. You do, if you're talking about percentages, yes, you do. But
which one was The Sound of Her Voice?
It's a DS9 episode where the Defiant has to race against time to save a person who's trapped on some kind of planet with a weird atmosphere.
Yes.
And then they realize that she was already dead.
That was, oh my gosh.
Terrible episode in terms of outcome.
I'll never forget how I felt. That was like a gut punch right there. But yeah. Sorry, keep going. Okay, now. Okay.
Yeah. So that one, or something like First Duty, which is much more famous, I guess.
First Duty is to the truth.
Lying,
yeah.
Right. Duty, truth, honor, teammanship, all those things.
more
Whereas-
more conservative.
Right. You're trying to protect the integrity of an establishment, aren't you? By upholding its values. And
Yeah.
You're going Will Wheaton's character. What's his name? Wesley. There we go. He's going wayward, and he's trying to side with not
Tom Paris,
Tom Paris.
Nick
Yeah.
Locarno. Yeah, they didn't want to pay the writer. That's why they didn't want to pay the
Right.
writer for the character's name. So
Yeah. By the way, the personal is political. I just Googled it on Grok, and it's a phrase that came from second wave feminism in the 70s.
the
And
personal is political, and the political
yeah,
is personal.
basically, she considered private things that were considered private, particularly those affecting women, are in fact deeply political and need to be addressed publicly. So everything that's private should now be personal.
Isn't
That was-
politics supposed to be downstream from culture, or culture downstream from politics is downstream from culture? If I remember,
That's
correctly.
the distinction when
Yeah.
we're talking about the politics here and
Yeah.
the social justice politics in America. They're two different kinds of politics, but the establishment can almost, like Hollywood or the actors here, have to hide behind it or hide in front of it and not say anything about it. But there we go. I just wanted to back up and explain.
It's a shame social media is such a thing. You get to hear what every actor, every author, get to hear their terrible takes, and all that. So
Yeah.
and
Guardian of Forever, by the way, is a conservative episode.
which one?
The Guardian of Forever.
Sitting on the edge.
Forever.
Sitting on the edge for yeah.
Right.
Because it's funny because Harlan Ellison was, if I remember correctly, Harlan Ellison was a big, heavy duty Democrat, if I remember correctly. But he was one of those. I think today nowadays, like he would be probably support Trump or something because he's more part of that attitude, that part of that attitude era from the 60s. Like he didn't give a shit about like he was just he was difficult. He was basically a no nonsense type of personality. And he did not get along with a lot of people. He called Roddenberry a hack to his face, I think, or maybe he didn't do it to his face. He did it like probably in an interview or something like that. So, there's some but yeah, I could see that. Just like the whole idea of maintaining, like you said, maintain the status quo. Because what happens in Sitting on the Edge of Forever? Enterprise vanishes because McCoy pumps himself up full of drugs by accident because of turbulence and doesn't realize it goes back into a time portal and saves a woman's life basically. And she, she somehow is the focal point, the unusual element that keeps everybody out of World War II. And then because of that, it basically fundamentally changes history. The Enterprise is gone. Why are Kirk, Spock, and Scotty and Uhura still on the planet? Who knows? Doesn't matter. Because they're right by the portal, I guess. I don't know time travel mechanics nearly that well, but that's what I'm assuming. They're that close. Same reason why in Star Trek First Contact, the Enterprise didn't vanish, when the Borg went back in time and just assimilated everybody, because they were close enough to the time portal. So I'm using that same logic for that, but it's the same idea. You're trying to stop the change from happening. Progressiveness is always about changing and in their mind moving forward and onward and upward and all that. Whereas conservatives, just it's about
preservation,
conservation. I guess you could say religion, believing a higher being. We're not fully, not nearly as humanistic as progressives are. So
well, as I said in my video, how do people not see these things? How can they not make these distinctions? And change for change's sake is not really change, is it? And so just to not conserve things is not progressive.
Yeah.
And that's what gets me. And then when you explain to people on Twitter or X, when you explain these things, they can go in denial and say, no, they're exactly the same. So how do you explain the nuances of the differences between those set of episodes and then these set of episodes? It's crazy.
Yeah, you have to talk to people who are willing to listen. even scripture, you don't ever waste time talking to people who won't listen. So yeah, so you have to find that smarter fan. That's kind of where we come in. So
and by the way, just in case anybody hasn't seen the video, I'm not a conservative. I'm actually more of a progressive. I'm quite liberal as a person.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still registered Chicago Democrats. Just the party's changed to the point where there has to be some pushback. And yeah, I mean, you can ask me. I still hate George W. Bush, and I hate Dick Cheney quite a bit. So,
well, I'll show you how fair I am. I hate every single president.
There you go.
That I've been around for. I don't like any of them. Shouldn't trust government.
No. I mean, after watching The Wire and watching shows like The Sopranos, you realize the government is basically the biggest gang in town. They are a racket. The state of Illinois is a literal racket run by a fat gangster. I mean, he's not even worthy of being called a gangster. He's a bitch, JB Pritzker. So excuse my language.
Don't know these names. Sorry.
Governor of Illinois, probably the most corrupt, one of the most corrupt states in the world. So there you go.
Okay.
So
ideally, I'd like to be impartial, and so I'm trying to prove that by saying, look, I caveated the video by saying I'm not conservative, but you can't deny these are conservative videos. And I'm taking an open-minded approach by also saying Measure of a Man is both conservative and progressive. And too many people aren't willing to sort of sit in the middle of something or sit outside of it and then look at it objectively. It's very much subjective all the time. And that's very disheartening, I think. I mean, for example, I love what Trump is doing at the moment. I'm always talking about it here because whatever happens in the UK, we're downstream from the changes in America. But at the same time, as soon as Trump makes a mistake, I'll be on him for doing that. I'm not going to deny that he made a mistake.
Yeah,
I mean, that's got to be the best way for everyone to operate.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and this is why I feel differently about him than I feel about other politicians. Trump will actually listen. And he will likely listen, unlike other politicians. Other politicians will go in one. I mean, if you hear hearings and all the hearings that they're talking about now. I mean, Republicans say their side all the time, and the Democrats that are in the room, it just goes in one ear out the other. They don't listen. And just like the hearings for the cabinet members, they're just talking at each other. It's fun. It's hilarious for some of the senators. Some of the senators are just so obnoxiously obnoxious that it's just, there's so much emotion. It gets really entertaining, but they're just talking at the candidate. And the thing is, it's no different from when a Democrat puts their cabinet members in, then the Republicans are going to be grinding that candidate to dust. So I understand that it's a freaking game. And I just wish that, I mean, when it comes to, yes, Star Trek is more progressive, but it's not just progressive. People on both sides, I used to go to church, people I went to church with, Republican, conservative, they loved the Next Generation. I grew up with the Next Generation. They loved it. My piano teacher who I went to church with, he had his son tape TNG episodes. This was during season 4, season 5 or something. I was really young at the time. So I remember it. It was on TV all the time. And then years later, I'm watching it. And I'm like, holy crap, And I mean, it matched with my politics. Because I grew up Democrat. I grew up in a Democrat house. I live in Chicago. It's a no-brainer. So what's weird is, despite my shift, I still love older Trek. I still agree with a lot of the progressive positions, because they to me, they still seem human and something attainable and something that will benefit everybody, to the point where even conservatives, people who are conservatives, can adopt too. That's what I love about it. There's
an episode that I think you know that they can't make it this way anymore. But there's a season 1 episode of TNG called Symbiosis. I recently reviewed it on my channel, and
The drug
there's
one,
a moment. There's a moment towards the end of the episode that has always stuck with me ever since I first watched that episode, and it's where Picard is not going to tell the people who need the drugs that they're wasting their money on these drugs because he can't interfere. And the other two from the other planet that makes the drugs are really happy about this because they know he can't interfere because he said he can't interfere.
Yeah.
And then the clincher is that he says, oh, but by the way, because I can't interfere, I'm not giving you those engine parts. So you have to figure it out for yourself. And it works both ways. And I just loved that so much that I've always remembered that he had to follow the rules so closely that he could neither hurt them or help them.
Yeah.
And he just stayed impartial to it. And even though he knew he was going to win anyway, just by not taking away the engines, but by being reminded that he can't interfere, because those two were sort of like, you can't say anything. He then remembered, oh yeah, well, I can't do it this way either. I can't do anything that's going to favor the other side. He took it away. And I just love that. And that kind of thinking where there's not enough of it, where you can look at it objectively from both sides, even though the doctor was ragging in his ear.
Oh yeah.
He stuck to his guns. He's like, no, can't do it. You've got to leave them alone. This is the prime directive, which is also, and everyone that I speak to, maybe I'm speaking to the wrong people, they will deny this, but that's a libertarian ideal. The prime directive is a libertarian stance of non-interference, and everybody that just gets wrapped up in this idea that no, it's progressive when it's not. It's
no, progressives will want to get involved in everything. They'll want to get in your face about stuff. If they see you're doing something wrong, they're going to be in your face about it. The whole non-interference thing, yeah, I'm with you on that. That particular, I remember that particular episode. That was Merritt Buttrick's last acting role before he passed away, I think. And
that's the guy who grabs Riker, right, with the electric hand.
Yeah, he played David yes. Marcus, and then of course another Wrath of Khan actor played the yes. guy on the other side, the handsome dude. That was Khan's henchman, Joaquin.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got two actors from Wrath of Khan in that episode. And yeah, I remember they one side benefited from giving the drugs, and one side, well, didn't really benefit, but they got the high that they needed. And yeah, he refused to help both of them, and it was a great ending. It was such a great ending. You're like, it just leaves it up in the air, like, because it's that type of stuff that leads to conversations. It's family. I mean, Star Trek was always like you said, it was a family oriented show that drove conversations. Like, you could go back in time to Arena with when Kirk, ultimately spares the Gorn because he decided, maybe he decided to think, well, maybe we're not necessarily and we're not totally in the right either. And then the same thing with, like you brought up Devil in the Dark, that was another episode that was very I guess you could say progressive in a way that it was about dealing with differences, like the Horde is a very different type of creature. It's a silicon creature, and it was killing people, and we didn't understand why it was killing people. With okay, maybe this is just a monster of the day type of thing, and that episode subverted. And that's, I mean, thanks to Spock and his magical, mind meld abilities, he could communicate with the silicon creature. But it had a reason for what it was doing. And I mean, now realistically, I don't think it wouldn't have resolved that easily. Like those miners are dead. There's going to be bad blood regardless. But hey, it's TV. It's TV.
By the way, just for clarification, the Devil in the Dark that was mentioned in the video, I don't know if anybody gets confused because I didn't actually say it here. It's just from the video that you're referring to.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Symbiosis, by the way, and Devil in the Dark is so accessible to children, and I watched them both as a child. It's so again, it just makes me sort of look at these people who don't get it. Just make me think, how come you don't get it? This was family entertainment. It had to sort of, I don't want to say lowbrow it, but it had to lower the accessibility so that dad could explain it or mom could explain it to the kids, or the kids could question why to their parents, to get everybody talking. You had to make it so accessible. And it seems that the politics, the personal politics of everyone, has just sort of stripped away their understanding or how they did approach it. Because I'm sure they did understand it as a kid and were like, wow, that's great. But then how do they, maybe they don't find a way to apply it to their current political situation, because the politics of today,
It's
no
so
one could have
one-sided
envisioned
today.
today
It's so one.
from,
yeah.
Yeah, but you couldn't envision how politics of the 2020s would have played out back in the 90s. Only
I mean,
DS9 really did by accident.
I mean, I was thinking, you know, if they made a, if they had a really good team, you know, who was, you know, for, you know, what was right and all that, I could see them making an episode about someone who is mischaracterized, you know, a person that's being persecuted by someone by following someone who's mischaracterized. You find out the person that's being mischaracterized, you know, wasn't so bad all along. I hate to use this as an allegory for a certain person who is leading the reins of change in the world right now, but I think that would be a very interesting episode. And if it was, you know, if there's anybody who writes some you know, good fan fiction, I think we know someone. I think in this discussion right now, you know, I think that could be a thing. But season 8 of Voyager, I figured this perfect way to kind of segue into season 8 of Voyager. So we did talk a little bit about it on the last Trektorial. I think that was over 2 years, over 2 years ago now. So I got much further than I did last time. I think I only watched Caretaken last time. This time I watched 3 episodes. I forgot what was the name of the episode.
It's a Latin name. I can't.
It's a land name, and it just means don't. I looked up the meaning of the land name, and it's just like don't rush into anything, or don't rush into anything or something or whatever. So
yeah.
I don't remember if I asked you this last time, but like, what brought about this project? So I'm taking it you really enjoyed.
You did
Voyager.
ask for a recap. Yeah.
Okay. I don't listen to my own stream, so I didn't.
It's okay.
Bother.
Maybe you can name drop because I can barely remember him. Do you remember the writer of Picard season 1?
I mean, Akiva Goldsman was the showrunner.
Yeah, he's one of them, but yeah, it was the other
Alex
guy
Kurtzman,
with the long hair and the glasses.
Alex Kurtzman.
Nah. Anyway, that guy, when he created, I mean, if you want to Google it while I'm talking, when he wrote the TV show, and I watched it from beginning to end, I just thought I could do better than this. And it's just putting my money.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. My mouth is. I forgot his name too. He wrote a book. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember his name either because he quit. We find out he quit right before the end of season 1 happened. So, but yeah, keep going. Sorry.
There you go, Michael Chabon.
Michael Chabon. Okay, all right, there you go.
Or as I like to say, Michael Chabong, because he must have been smoking something while he was writing that first series. So I contacted him on Twitter or Instagram, I can't remember, and I said to him, look, this is terrible, I'm going to write something better than this, and I thank you for the inspiration that you've given me. And I meant that sincerely.
Oh,
and he just said, okay, good luck to you, dude. Now obviously he couldn't argue with me on the merits of his show, but some of the fans that were on his IG page were like, oh, you're crazy, Jonathan, this show is amazing. I'm like, are you sure? But anyway, he's the reason why. And I've always had a burning sort of desire to find out what happened to Voyager when it came back. I just never thought of writing it myself.
Yeah, I was a kid. I mean, Voyager, I credit Voyager with being the first live action show I ever followed, like as it was airing and all that. And I didn't watch the entire show. I started with the end of season 3. That's when I was really getting into Star Trek. And I came across Scorpion Part 1, and Scorpion Part 1 was what kind of glued me into watching Voyager after that. And I mean, I loved the ending at the time. I was 16 when it ended. And because the thing that I cared about the most was them getting home. So when you see them, you know, when you see that, you know, that shot that I just showed them in the intro where they're being escorted to Earth, I was really happy. But then, you know, I got older and I watched other shows, better shows like Deep Space Nine, and I realized Voyager's ending was not the best. And I feel Voyager needed a few more episodes to truly, because we didn't really get to say goodbye to the characters. And
Right.
we didn't get to say goodbye to the characters, and there was a lot of payoffs that didn't. There was a lot of things that didn't pay off, like that you show in season 8, in your pilot, the embrace of Tom Paris and his father, Admiral Paris, was a big one that I think should have happened in the show.
It does
Honestly,
happen in the relaunch novel, but I don't think it's very good.
what, Homecoming? Yeah. I read Homecoming and I read The Further Shore. I completely forgot what those were about, but they
It
seemed
was about the
very.
Borg again.
Of course it was. You know, I mean, those books. Wasn't Kirsten? What's funny is Kirsten Beyer didn't write those first 2 or 3.
No, it was Christy Golden.
It was Christy Golden.
Yeah.
But then Kirsten Beyer, I think she was involved with Picard season 1. I think she was
Yes.
one of the writers. So,
And Discovery.
Oh really? And Discovery too.
You know,
But yeah, the Borg. They bring the Borg into everything, and I think, honestly, I don't know how you feel about the finale, but do you think they should have brought the Borg into the finale? I personally would have rather had them. This might not be a popular opinion, but bring back the caretaker or the caretaker's people. What was it? The
Seska.
Sporosician.
Suspiria.
Yeah, Suspiria, because she just kind of vanished with her little Ocampa slave boy toys. The one dude was her boy toy. I know that for sure.
I actually don't mind having the Borg as the final big bad. I don't mind that. It's just because it's just a mechanism to get them back home very quickly.
Yeah.
If I want to raise a complaint is DS9 got 10 episodes to wrap everything up.
Yes.
Voyager just got 90 minutes, just like the last
Next
episode
Gen.
of Voyager. Yeah. What is it called?
What?
I'm not a geek, am I?
The end of Voyager? Endgame.
No, the end of TNG.
All good things.
Yeah, there we go. So
I am a geek. I'm a nerd.
So to just copy, essentially, it was just a facsimile of All Good Things, and that's the disappointing part. The Borg is fine for me, but if you had like a mixture of say 5 episodes where they got back, maybe they got back in the penultimate episode, and then you have one more episode where they wrap things up and they cross the T's and dot the I's. But to just throw the Borg at you, okay, but then use it as a delivery method, okay, but there's no build up because you don't see the Borg for ages prior to this happening, and then they just dumped it home, and then it's like, oh, okay, that's it.
Mhm.
So
yeah, the Borg conduit. Yeah, the Borg conduit was what got them home ultimately, and they of course they brought time travel into it. So you have So I was reading up on the finale yesterday. And apparently Brandon Braga they were teasing killing a character off. And ultimately that character that was killed off was, future Janeway. So, but honestly, I heard that they were setting up 7 of 9 to die, or even I could have seen Chakotay die too. Those two characters that were dead in the alternate timeline, I could have seen either one of them die.
So someone said that what would have been a good idea is if Chakotay or 7 or anybody actually, they died maybe 6 or 7 episodes prior, and you bring them back, and there'd be more of an emotional payoff because Janeway has changed the past. Because at the point that she comes back, basically only that engineer doesn't make it back, and you could have brought him back. He's not really a big character, but why not that? What's his name? You know who I'm talking about, though, don't you? The engineer that dies a few episodes. He was like in the running to be chief engineer, and B'Elanna took it in the very first couple of episodes.
Oh,
it looks like Miles O'Brien.
Oh yeah, I forgot his name.
Yeah, well, there was no excuse really, considering that you're playing with time travel, for Janeway to not go back a little bit further to rescue him, and then bring them all back. But she didn't. Or why didn't she go back to Caretaker episode? Right? There's all these questions when you introduce time travel. It just you can just start picking holes into it unnecessarily. How
many characters died in Voyager? Because I know, like, usually when there was a death, like you would say, like you said, they would undo it with time travel. But I mean, obviously there was Brad Dourif's character, Lon Suter, the Betazoid, that killed someone, and he ultimately saved the ship in Basics Part 2. He was one character, but I don't remember if he was Maquis. Okay, okay, I got a question for you. Now, one thing I thought was interesting about your story. So a lot of
Joe
season,
Carey. Sorry, Joe Carey.
Joe Carey. Okay, all right.
Go on. So
A lot of your season is basically you're setting up. I mean, obviously they're home, and you're basically setting up. You're basically filling in for what the finale should have done. And then and right now, I think at the end of episode 3, everybody's kind of, well, there's different groups that they're off the ship and they're separate. People basically broken up. Basically, they're separate. They're apart now.
yes.
So like I know Tuvok is going to Vulcan for that
Yes.
For the treatment.
Yes.
Janeway went back home to Indiana. I
Yeah.
liked how you
After
brought.
being caught,
Yeah, I liked
spoilers.
mild
It's
spoilers.
like 3 years old. Okay, so she got court-martialed. Yeah.
So I don't remember. Did you? I don't think we know the charges yet, do we?
You just know as a viewer, there's 32.
There's 32 charges. I couldn't help
Yeah,
but think.
but if you break it down,
Yeah.
they are available. You can find out what they are online anyway, because I'm trying to stick to canon, and so they are legitimate issues that have been found from the TV show.
Are they going to be? Are they going to be revealed in the next episode, or is that something you cannot say?
Episode 4 concentrates on the Doctor because he's at Pathfinder.
So are you going to do episodes like that now that a lot of the characters are apart now? You're going to be focusing on just like different sets of them going forward?
Yes. So the way I've written it, I've planned it in certain phases. And then for phase 1, obviously get them off the ship and then set up their individual stories. So the main characters all get individual episodes, except for Icheb. So Icheb is like a through line. He's got like a scene here and a scene there throughout the next episode 4, 5, 6. Definitely 4, 5, 6. I'm writing 7 at the moment. And then once Janeway's trial begins, she'll be probably the last character-focused episode. And then it'll just be different scenes from different parts of the story as we progress, because it's all happening in real time.
Have you, how far have you planned this out, if I may be so bold?
I don't know how many episodes there are, but I have said that there won't necessarily be 26. There could be 30. There could be 35. It's just season 8 is just an open-ended sort of explanation as to the continuation of the story.
Okay.
And there's a ton of material. So, I mean, this isn't a spoiler because I've dropped hints, but for example, the lower decks people, like the Bolian guy,
Chell,
we met Chell, and
learning curve.
Dalby.
I liked how you brought all the characters from Learning Curve. Learning Curve was a great episode.
I like it.
It's one of my 2 favorites from season 1. That and the Jetrel, the alien Dr. Oppenheimer episode. I thought it was a great Neelix episode, and I loved it. The Learning Curve was a great Tuvok episode. And I liked. It was a shame that we didn't really get to see those characters again. I know Chell made another appearance in season 7. I looked up Memory Alpha. I don't know if the other characters in that episode appeared, like the Bajoran dude. I liked your segment about the Bajoran dude, and like how he was brought up and all that.
Oh, you're talking about the flashback where?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying to flesh out some of these secondary characters. And I actually get
your
a lot
B
more
team, basically.
Freedom. Yeah, I get a lot more freedom writing those characters because those personalities aren't as defined. So Dalby, you could say, he's had no character growth and he's just happy to be back. So he's just like gone back to his usual sort of state.
I liked how they react. I like how you had them react to being back because they were Maquis. They had nothing, right? There was nothing for them here.
Right. But they've all got different interpretations of what it means to be back. And you can see it with Mariah Henley. She actually wants to have a career in Starfleet, and so she's denied. Whereas Dalby's like, I don't care, I'm back. And Chell's like, well, I just want to start a restaurant. So they're all going in the same direction. So
okay, so that's what. Okay, so I was trying to understand what happened. So they were just the Maquis were simply dismissed. They were told to go home, basically.
Yes, but in the Christie Golden books, they were given like a full pardon, and I don't think that was realistic. And again, the book is doing what the TV show did, which is just dismiss the Maquis as an element. And I'm saying, no, what would it be like if all of a sudden You bring all these supposed terrorists back, and they're allowed to go free. What does that mean for them, and what does it mean for the Federation?
They're gonna form the the Fenris Rangers that they made up for New Trek. That makes no sense. Sorry, I need to do some roasting, because one thing that you did that they didn't freaking do, you had that Jakarta video where you were laying down the groundwork for the what's going on politically in the galaxy. Something that New Trek should have did. I was expecting to see something about that in Picard, because I mean, there's a lot of implications. I mean, I hate to bring up the fact that Romulus was destroyed, in canon, thanks to J.J. Abrams. I mean, but that has a lot of implications, and they never decided that they didn't have smart enough writers to come up and flesh out, what's going on politically. Right. And I liked your post Dominion War stuff, like your Martok stuff. I love. Sorry, I'll let you. Talk about it.
So that part is called the Jankata Accord, which is a reference to what Seven says. She drops it in an episode where she has multiple personalities running through her head.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's an actual thing. I didn't make it up. I'm just borrowing from the canon and then building on it. And so when you listen to it, you realize the Dominion War caused it to sort of evaporate as an accord. And then the consequences of Voyager coming in creates a little bit of paranoia, because the Vorters are in charge. The shape changers are still, talking with Odo for a bit, on their.
So they're kind of like they basically disengaged themselves from the galaxy. The founders, they're just chilling out in the link. They're all just linked up and
still talking. Because the Dominion, as I say in the mini episode, the Dominion have had their first defeat. So what kind of ramifications does that have just for them? So it's just a subtle hint to say they're in the game, but they're not doing anything.
So you said the Dominion's been around for like 8,000 years, basically.
Yeah, they say that.
They say that, and yeah, like you said, they never they just like they built this unstoppable force. You could breed all your soldiers, you can breed all your administrators. Yeah. I liked what you did with the Voyager implication right there, with Voyager coming back, because now people are interested in whether or not Voyager came across other shapeshifters like Odo that were sent out into the galaxy. I forgot why they did that. Was that just
on DS9 they launched like 100 of them out into space
just to see if there was a viable threat somewhere out there,
and bring them back. And Odo came back early.
Yeah,
because of the discovery of the wormhole, he managed to return early, and he's one of the few that got back. There's Lal. Is it Lal? They meet him in season 7, but he doesn't want anything to do with the Dominion.
Lal is Data's daughter. I forget the name. I forgot his name though, but I know what you're talking about.
Right. Okay. And one of my contributors to the Patreon suggested as an idea, maybe there were always changelings on board Voyager. And I like the idea enough to sort of just change it a bit and sort of put a disclaimer out there that there are no changelings on Voyager. It's the opposite, but he gave me the impetus to put that in there, because then it adds to the paranoia, because is the Federation lying?
I got a question.
The Vorta is trying to raise shit with the Federation.
Remember that demon episode, the Demon Planet episode with the duplicates and all that? Yeah. Do you think there's a possible correlation between the liquid on that planet, the liquid life on that planet, with the liquid life of the founders? Some connection, maybe they maybe like with Cardassians and humans and Klingons and Romulans in the chase, maybe they have a similar ancestry too.
If I wasn't writing this, then I would entertain that fantasy. But one of the things I want to do with the story is not try to link everything together like the books do and have things stand on their own. There's so much material inside the Voyager canon itself that I can use it and have it play out back in the Alpha Quadrant. So there are certain bad guys that I'm bringing back, that I'm going to set up, that are from the TV show that were unresolved. One of them is Tiro, the Bajoran guy who brainwashed Tuvok.
Oh,
remember him? He brainwashed him, and then he took over Voyager. It was a season 7 episode. They took him over. He was investigating a series of attacks on board Voyager, and then he realizes he's attacking everybody. but because he was brainwashed, he doesn't know. And then with Chakotay's help, they take over the ship, and Janeway's in the brig.
I'll have to watch that one again. So that was unresolved. Interesting.
Basically, they don't say what happened to Tiro,
Oh, okay.
and he was part of the Maquis as well. So another element, like Order 66 from Star Wars, and then from that you can build out all these other new shows that they've got, because not all the Jedi were dead. I'm kind of doing the same thing, building up to this idea that there are still Maquis left, and they want to do something, but not what we've seen before. That's the idea.
I feel like that was another missed opportunity. They could there could have been more conflict between the Starfleet side and the Maquis side, and they just they put all that into a single character, and of course that character was not even Maquis. She was Cardassian, Seska.
Yeah, there's her as well, yeah. But
and then after that, all right, okay, I see the link.
Yeah, his name is Tiro Anadis.
So this is someone that's not in the Delta Quadrant with them. This is someone that's on Bajor or something?
He was sending messages to Tuvok inside the visual, the video.
Oh.
And his brain was picking up on it, so he took him over.
Interesting.
So anyway, he's going to come back. So there's a spoiler. But to go back to the lower decks crew with Dalby and the Bolian guy, Mr. Chell, the idea is that they're going to DS9, and eventually some of the main characters will also be there, because some of the story has to be set on Deep Space Nine and around the Bajor sector. Yeah, you brought back
O'Brien. I thought that was pretty. So O'Brien meets the EMH.
Yes.
So he's like, "Oh, bloody hell! What is this? Oh, that's my mobile emitter."
Right.
Oh.
But everything in the first episode is set up for something later. So I'm against fan service, but because we've seen the consequences of just doing pure fan service on the new stuff. But where O'Brien might seem like fan service, it serves the story for later, because he will do something later on. There's reasons why he's there.
Okay.
Right.
I liked how you brought up Cisco, or I like how he brought up Cisco. He's like, "Oh, Cisco's fine." I'm like, he's not fine. He's in the Celestial Temple.
Right. But it's not. But Brian, I would figure that O'Brien is polite enough not to take anything away from Janeway by saying, "Oh yeah, well this went down with Captain Cisco." He would tell her later if he ever gets around to doing it, or he knows that Starfleet will tell her. But even that mention of Cisco matters later. It's not just a reference for reference sake. You could go through that entire episode and just pick out all these things and think, well, that was a waste of time. But no, it matters later.
The other thing that I was doing was because it's been a while since I watched Voyager, so I forgot a lot of the characters' names.
Okay.
Anytime I heard a character, I was like, "Who is this again?" I immediately went to Memory Alpha to see. Okay, I remember him now. So you bring up at the end of Caretaken, the first episode, Admiral Patterson takes command of Voyager and relieves Janeway of duty. And I was like, "Who is Patterson? This sounds familiar." And like, he's the Admiral dude she was walking with in the Relativity episode, in the episode with the time ship Relativity and Captain Braxton in 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But by accident, do you remember something like Scrooge, the Christmas story? Is it called A Christmas
Carol?
Oh, I'm thinking of Scrooge with Bill Murray.
Christmas Story is with Ralphie and his gun that you'll put an eye out, kid.
Oh, okay. But he's visited by 3 ghosts. And by accident, Janeway in that very first episode is visited by 3 admirals, and they all have a different take on her, because one sends her bad news. Owen Paris has a different reaction, and then there's the other one, the black admiral, who Admiral Mitchell.
Is he's a brand new character?
He is a brand new character, but somebody who played a background extra in Endgame is called Mitchell, and he played an admiral, but his real name is something Mitchell. So I just said, right, that's Admiral Mitchell.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that's good enough. That's good enough.
Right. But he is an original character, so I can do things with. But he's like sort of happy that Janeway's back. Patterson isn't happy, and Owen is sort of like in between.
I thought her and Patterson were like chummy chum in Relativity. Like they're walking together, and she's basically. I think he's the one that's basically showing her around Voyager initially.
Yeah, but he's been. I think I mentioned it in episode 3 or episode 2. He's had to give these orders to Janeway. He's following the chain of command. He has to do it. He doesn't want to. He just hasn't had a chance yet to express himself to Janeway. Whereas Owen Paris at the beginning of episode 2, at the end of episode 2 or something, he talks to Janeway before she leaves Voyager. Yeah. You remember the scene where everyone's entering the room one by one?
Yeah.
And he basically just stops, but he is saying that Starfleet has changed while you've been away.
Yeah. I thought that was very interesting right there. Starfleet has changed because of the Dominion incursion. Now they're going to be more guarded when it comes to,
disciplining officers.
Disciplining officers. Is exploration still going to be a thing now, or are they going to be more interested in building up, building up arms, building up, security against another Dominion?
Well, my take is that Janeway, the crew of Voyager, have the sort of TNG sort of outlook on the galaxy because they were never in the war.
Yeah, that's true.
Again, that's another perspective that mirrors the Maquis perspective.
Yeah.
And then Owen Paris is saying, look outside, there's a Sovereign class starship there. Look at that thing. So now when we explore, we have to carry weapons to a degree where
the Sovereign is it the Sovereign that launched the Sovereign class of ships that the Enterprise is? Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm just saying it's a test bed for new technologies. It's just a platform, so it doesn't really do anything. Like the Enterprise is probably because you got to give the Enterprise all the glory. So it's the first Sovereign that gets out there, whereas the Sovereign is just the one that's staying around Mars, probably defend Mars, and you just fit it with new technologies.
Will this story be big enough? I mean, maybe you don't know this yet, or maybe you do. Will this story be big enough to bring in the Enterprise?
I hate small universe syndrome where everything is connected. So this is set, by the way, I don't know if you know where this is on the timeline, but this is set 3 months before Nemesis.
I thought Nemesis was like a whole year because Nemesis came out a year and a half after Voyager season 7.
It could be. I could be mixing it up with the Doctor episode where you find out that there are slave versions of himself 3 months later when Voyager gets back.
But now that explains why in the Jakarta the video that you did, why you said the Romulans are still. I mean, not a whole lot has changed with them. Like there's
but it is before Nemesis.
Yeah, so Nemesis, then you had Shinzon take, basically assassinating the Praetor and the entire Senate, and then he becomes the Praetor, and then
yes. That I like that idea. I mean, I love the fact as well that at the moment I've got a really good example to show you, which is what Trump is doing, where he's just cleaning house politically. And something similar, I believe, happened when Shinzon came in. And so it affects a character that will come in to the show, which is a Romulan character. But I can't remember if it's the end of season at the end of episode 3 or the beginning of season.
I saw a thumbnail. I was looking at. I saw a thumbnail. Okay, I saw a thumbnail, an unseen figure. I'm like, is this who I think it is? Is it who I think it is?
No, it's not going to be Sela.
Okay,
but that is a screen cap from a TNG episode of Sela. I just couldn't
from the mind's eye. Yeah.
Right, I couldn't generate my own.
I'm gonna hate to bring this into Picard season 3, but they should not have involved the Borg or the shapeshifters. Sela would have been an interesting way to bring back Denise Crosby, and I mean she's still. I mean,
I agree.
You didn't see her die. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know. I don't like
end of the world stakes anymore.
That's all new Trek. Like even Section 31, it's a super weapon, end of the world, stakes, revenge, and they keep reusing that every single episode and they because there's no there's no talent, there's no creativity to create stories that are timeless and that that will lead to like we said earlier discussion. So
Yeah.
And the
things
universe
that-
is yeah.
Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, the universe that New Trek has created is just not interesting at all because there's no nuance.
It's
It's
too
just
small.
it's way too small.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at season, I keep getting the words episode and season mixed up. Sorry. If you look at season 3 of Picard, every single scene is a reference to something else. There's very little to maneuver around, because there's an episode where the Enterprise is hiding in a battlefield, and it just says something like the Chintoka battlefield or something.
Yeah.
And it's a reference to the Dominion War. And it's like, come on, really? You could have just created a new thing, because in old Trek, they always gave you a reference to 3 things. They would say, oh, he's the he's like Albert Einstein, Stephen Hawking, and then Mukbar Mukibuk. They'll just give you an alien reference which just expands the canon because you want to know who Mukibuk is. Do you remember this? They'll give you 3 references, 2 real worlds so that we would get it, and then a third one for something for world building.
Yeah, I mean,
And
they did that. They did that as early as Sitting on the Edge of Forever. He's telling Kirk is telling Edith Keeler a fake poem or a fake book, and it's the same with I like it. I like it when they do it. You bring in some real references that we know, and then one that just builds on the world. Yeah, season 3. But this is the problem with New Trek in general, and season 3 is no exception to Picard. And people like it. You know, if you like it, you enjoy it. Last thing I want to do is take away enjoyment. But if you're going to borrow from stuff, reason why I'm more forgiving of Voyager is because Voyager basically borrows from other Star Trek. Basically, it's TNG like. Basically, I'm okay with that. I'm not okay when you're borrowing from other properties like Star Wars. Star Wars is the big one. Like, Picard season 3 ends like Return of the Jedi. I mean, it's anybody with a brain can see that. Yeah. So
there's a passage in episode 4 which you haven't got to yet, and Barclay meets this admiral for the first time, this brand new admiral, and the admiral says, "I've studied Federation history. You're akin." So he's saying, because Barclay's a very successful person now, because he brought Pathfinder into the fold and found Voyager and everything, and the admiral says, "You're akin to Samuel Morse, Tim Berners-Lee, or even Von Blasov." It's a reference to how they used to describe things from classic Trek. 3 references to something, and 1 builds the canon. Von Blasov. Okay, who is Von Blasov? Right.
Yeah. You're right. You're right there.
Diehards will hopefully get the reference.
Yeah.
To things like that. Oh, he did 3, just like old Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And to go back onto the idea of world-ending stakes, there are lots of stakes present. Obviously, Janeway's court-martial, but the things that are going to happen on Bajor are big for Bajor, not for the entire Federation. But it affects the Federation because it's Bajor. It's things like that. So when you ask, oh, could the Enterprise be in it? I mean, they could if I wanted to, because I'm the writer, but no. But Geordie LaForge is in a flashback because he wrote, think about it like this, he wrote the recommendation letter for Barclay so that Barclay could get his position at Pathfinder, because Barclay worked under Geordie on the Enterprise, right? So there is a bit where you hear Geordie's voice because we're reading the recommendation letter.
I forget how that played out in Voyager. But I remember the Pathfinder episodes. Deanna, Marina Sirtis came back to play Deanna Troi, and I think Barclay was still seeing her. Is he still seeing? I forget is he still seeing her at this point in the story?
He was supposed to be hooking up with a teacher. Do you remember? Riker knew a teacher, and then they were trying to give it to her. But I don't think Barclay does have in my story. I haven't mentioned it, but I do name drop Neelix.
Yeah, Neelix is another question I have. Now, Neelix was obviously, he was part of the main cast, obviously.
Neelix the cat, by the way.
Neelix the cat. Neelix the cat.
But I did mention the other Neelix as well. No, he's not going to be in the story.
Okay, so I was curious if there was a way to communicate with
people, but you got to cut these. You got to cut these things out and just move on.
Yeah.
Sadly, I like Neelix, but I can't think of a way to bring him back in.
I know it's a tough one. Did what did you think of his ending at the end of Voyager, where all of a sudden you're like 20-30,000 light years from Talax, Rhinax and Talax, and all of a sudden there's these Talaxians all the way there. I forget if the episode gave a reason. Oh, we had explorers come out here or something. I don't remember the reason, but it was just they had. I don't know. Like, I honestly was hoping Neelix would go back to the Alpha Quadrant with them, even though he'd be the only.
I would have liked
person
that
of his kind. So,
but then now you understand why Chell is doing what he's doing, because he's going to do everything in service to Neelix, and you can imagine Neelix wanting to take advantage of his situation and go somewhere where it's the most advantageous, and why not next to a wormhole where you can serve Delta Quadrant food in the Alpha Quadrant next to the Gamma Quadrant, right? It's you're just ticking off 3 out of the 4 quadrants. So that's why Chell's there. But with regard to Neelix's situation, I found it highly implausible, but at the same time, this is the same TV show that says there is one planet that just makes drugs for another planet, and they have this symbiotic relationship, and that's all it ever is. And I just think out of all the permutations of how a universe could end up, or a galaxy could end up, sure, why not? Just have at it.
yeah.
I'm happy for him. It is a bit implausible, but I can let it slide.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm really enjoying this conversation, because I'm really excited for where this story is going to go, because it's definitely a slow burn, but it's a slow burn. Like, it's interesting enough to make me invested and make me, and it, like you said, it doesn't have the stupid Red Angel end of the world stuff. Like, I'm done with that. I'm over that.
Sorry, go on. Yeah,
I'm completely over that. Like, I mean, I was just listening to Red Letter Media making fun of, because they did the same thing with Section 31. Section 31 is basically, once again, they don't like Star Trek. The people that are making new Trek, they do not like Star Trek. They are trying to use other properties. They're copying other properties to be successful. In this case, Section 31 was trying to be Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad, Borderlands, and heck, Jamie Lee freaking Curtis plays a Cortana-like character, purple hologram AI person. I'm not joking. Can you imagine that? I'm trying not to, but that's what they did. And if you see the interview, there's an interview with the director, Ola Munde, African, and he's just like, him and Kurtzman are sitting next to each other, giving an interview, and they are totally like Kurtzman. I don't know how he's still doing this, because he is completely he's not interested in what he's doing, and the director
pretends that he's interested.
He's not even showing it. He's completely checked out. I think he's just I'm taking my check. I got to do this, and I don't care. He doesn't care. He's making money, and CBS, Paramount they don't care. They're just like, oh, so, and then the director was just like, oh, it'll be fun. And he's got like bad teeth, and Red Letter Media had to like zoom in on him when he's not talking. It's the most funny and awkward. It's the most awkward moment ever. But yeah, it's pure comedy gold. Definitely watch that video.
2 things I wanted to mention was, imagine watching the first 10 movies. Then you get to J.J. Abrams, and you can say, okay, they're kind of like what I just watched in the first 10. And then you jump into Section 31. You're like, what the hell is this? It's so distinctively different. And the second thing is, to go back onto the writing, Earth is now becoming a more fleshed out character in my series, because we don't really know what Earth looks like, how people act on Earth, everyday civilians act on Earth. And so episodes 5...
Are they wearing trench coats, and they're wearing the ugly outfits? Oh wait, sorry. I'm thinking New Trek caricatures.
I didn't actually get that reference. I was just thinking of the Syndicate from the video game.
Yeah.
When I eventually get episode 5 and 6 produced, I've written them, by the way, and I had them published, but because I'm switching everything to AI voices, I had to rewrite it and then update it. And so the writing is done, but the audio needs publishing again. So that takes a while. But episode 5 is with Tom Paris and B'Elanna, and how they're adjusting and I'm setting up something for B'Elanna to do there. You'll see it. You can see like the cracks beginning to form between them both, which again hopefully comes off as natural. Episode 6 is Chakotay's episode where he visits his cousin, which is referenced in the TV show, and you get to see how civilians understand. You get to see their perspective of Earth, basically, which you don't really do in Star Trek. So, for example, this isn't a spoiler. When we talk about including the Enterprise in this story, there's a scene where he's with his sister, with his cousin, and she says, because Chakotay is from that planet where Wesley Crusher freezes everybody. Do you remember? And the Cardassians are trying to take it over. I can't remember the name of the episode.
Oh yeah, the
Native Indians are on the planet.
Yeah, everybody hated that episode.
Journey's End, I think it's
Journey's End. Yeah, that's right.
So Chakotay is from there in the canon. He's from there, and he speaks to his cousin, and she starts talking about that event. But from her perspective, she said something like, "There's a Klingon. You would know the ship because they had a Klingon security officer." She can't name drop because she's just a civilian. But for the fans, we know who she's talking about. And you get to see Ohio from her perspective. And then in the Tom Paris episode, because they're at Starfleet Academy, you get to see how his parents have reacted to his loss or his absence. And their house is just full of old items that were laying around or they've replicated. So they've got like a timepiece on the wall, or they're using actual copper teacups because they're all retro because Tom Paris is retro. So you kind of get to see why Tom is interested in the past, but they take it to another degree.
I got impressions. I mean, I was thinking of the episode Family. Like I'm like the 3 episodes that you've done, I've kind of think of an extended family, where,
Yes.
I mean, and Family is such a great episode. And
TNG,
yeah, that best of both worlds part 3, if you ask me, basically. So
but not Rick Berman. He hated part 3. So because it was going to be a part 3, wasn't it? And they changed it.
Oh really? I didn't know.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that. So I know Michael Piller wrote part 2. I think he did.
Yeah, they changed it. Changed writers.
Yeah, I mean honestly, like, part 2, I mean, some people like part 2's ending. I think part 1 was phenomenal. It's one of the best cliffhangers ever made. Part 2's way they destroyed the Borg, I was like, they put him to sleep, and then all of a sudden there's this feedback, and all of a sudden the Borg cube blows up.
I mean, I could put it down to the fact that it's just bad code on Data's part, and it just created a feedback loop.
Yeah,
I could put it down to that. But the annoying part with that episode is that part 1 is a Riker story, but part 2 is about Picard, and there's no resolution to Riker's story. He's the captain, so what happens? And then in Families, he's just commander again. He actually had the time to take the 4th pip off his neck, and then that's it. Okay, he's commander. There's no resolution to that, and yet it's a Commander Riker story. He's the one who has to decide whether to kill Captain Picard. It's his journey as a captain, and then they just push it aside for episode 2. But that's because, or part 2, but that's because they didn't know what they were going to do in season 4. Patrick Stewart could have left, and so it was entirely justified. And they could have obviously carried that on, but he stayed on, and then they didn't provide any resolution to Riker.
I mean, part 2. I feel part 2 was still Riker. I still feel part 2 was a Riker episode. I mean, he still was the one that. I mean, they were chasing the Borg cube, and he rescued Picard. He put together the plan to rescue Picard. Worked together with the team, and he still worked with Shelby, who they killed in Picard season 3, like. In a bad way, like, I'm sorry.
They didn't kill her.
I guess that bring up Picard.
They didn't kill her because in Picard, it's not really Star Trek, so it's just some weird fan fiction. It's just as valid as mine.
I think yours is way better.
At the end of the episode, though, it's about Picard's reaction to what's happened. It's not about Riker's reaction to what happened, because he's the one who said, "Picard's dead. I'm going to kill him now," and you don't get that closure. So that's why I say. It's not a Riker episode. I mean, he does try to kill Picard. He says, at the end of the episode, fire, and they fire that weapon. And the thing is, well, because of Picard, because because of Picard's assimilation, he knew the Borg were ready. Borg came up with defense really quickly. But you don't get the consequences of that action played out in part 2, Whereas the consequences of Picard's assimilation is explored right at the end, because you get the little I think you get the little, like, as though he can still speak to them. There's right. So they talk about, or they show the consequences of his actions, but not Riker's. That's why I say it's a Picard episode.
Part 2.
Picard, anyway. Part 2. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. We'll definitely have to follow up. So, one thing I've noticed in your video, and just to wrap this up, what's the best way to support this project? Obviously, it takes time and money. Do you take donations or something?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I've got a Patreon, but really my costs, I've kept them low. The animation that I'm doing, we didn't talk about the animation, but I'm trying to do the first 3 scenes from Caretaken, trying to get that done, and that requires more money. But otherwise, it's.
I know you're trying to look for. A voice actor who. I know you're trying to look for voice actors. I mean, I can't say. Yeah, I was gonna say I can't say I'm a professional, but I'd be willing to provide a voice if you know. if you need anything.
It's not outside the realm of possibility, because sometimes the AI voices are not that good enough yet. And I have to play around with it a lot, whereas a human can emote exactly how I want.
So you telling me are you telling me that was not Cole Meany playing Miles O'Brien? Of course not.
No. There are some clips from the TV show, but they're very few. So, for example, when Tom Paris, when they're trying to put the Voyager back through they celebrate and put Voyager through Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah.
Right. The yes, ma'am from Lieutenant Paris is from the TV show, because I couldn't get the AI to do it the way I wanted it. So I clipped it, put it in. So there's little things like that are from the TV show, but otherwise it's all AI generated.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I thought a lot of the voice acting, the AI voice acting was good. And yes, this is not an AI made thing. This was written by a human. I know you've had to go on and say, have you been accused of just creating this out of AI or something?
Interesting.
And that's why you in your video say, no, I wrote this myself.
Interestingly, there were some fans on Blue Sky where as soon as they saw the project, they just blocked me. They just blocked me and just said, they didn't say anything. They just got upset that I was taking the actors' voices and using them. But I'm not making money from this project through advertising. It's donations, and I only invest my time. I do not. Sorry, I'll back up. I don't make any money because I'm doing it for free. So any money that I make, I've said before somewhere that I'll just give it to charity. Any extra, it's not for me. The only thing I'm using is I'm spending my time on this. That's the investment I'm making, my time and other people's money who want to help. And I wasn't even asking for donations in the beginning. Someone said, I want to make a donation. So they can. And at the moment, I'm trying to get the part 2 of the animation done. And hopefully that will attract more people. But otherwise, I just like people to just enjoy it and share it and just take it seriously. Like you have. You're asking me legitimate questions. You're really interested in it. You've compared it to the books and to the TV show. So you're clearly invested and you want to know what happens, and I'm trying to feed you little bits here and there.
It's just
as well.
There's stuff that I really am curious how they play out. Like obviously the court martial, that's Janeway's court martial. I'm really curious what's going to happen with that. Is there more to? I mean, my other question is there more to Starfleet? And of course, the first thing I thought, and I'm sure you're going to shoot this down, was maybe a few people in Starfleet, maybe the aliens from Conspiracy make a return or something. I know it's way out. I know my ideas are way out there, but yeah, I mean, it's making me curious. I'm curious what's going on, and I'm really interested in.
I reviewed Conspiracy with my co-host, and when we checked the memory alpha, the aliens are mentioned in novellas, in the books, in Star Trek Online, and the ideas are bad. We had a go at them. It's a really fun episode when it comes out, and it's just garbage. All the ideas to extend this idea, like for example, they were having a secret war with the Trill, and then another example, the Iconians were using them to control the Vardwar. It's like, just drop it. Just drop it. This is
the Vardwar. Is that no, that's the Jad Vash.
The aliens, they woke up from sleep and they were like 800 behind 800 years behind in technology, and then they were supposed to be the big bad of season 6 and 7. Like related to Cardassians, supposedly. But
okay.
Right, but the Iconians in the books or the game, the Iconians were using the conspiracy aliens to control the Vaadwaur. It's like, fuck off, get out of here. So no, I won't be doing that. I won't be including those aliens, but I will be adhering to canon. So anybody who's wondering, like, how legit, I follow the canon to further prove that you can make good stories by following the canon. And one of those things that Alex Kurtzman says and Michael Chabon says, oh, you can't always follow the canon. And I'm saying you can. It's one reason why it takes me so long to get this done.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and you said you've used so Memory Alpha has been pretty helpful in that regard. Just getting the right information, the right facts. Yeah, I liked you did reference quite a few episodes of Voyager. I forgot which one was. I remember you referenced the Dr. E having a meal once. What episode was that?
When he took over Seven's body.
Oh, okay. Yes. All right. I remember that now. I remember that acting. That was funny. That was a good one. That was actually a good one.
How powerful that is. I get to just have a quick line and just say he's sort of like Janeway is overreacting about wanting the perfect coffee as they're going to meet Admiral Patterson. But then he's like, hang on, well, I did have that cheesecake. So yeah, okay. Right. It just adds so much to that one little line. And that's the kind of reference that I want to add that someone like you can pick up on.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm trying to remember. Like, it's because, like I said, it's been a while since I've watched all of Voyager, and there's a lot of episodes. I mean, it's like TNG and DS9. There's a lot of episodes. I don't remember all of them like I do the original series. So, so revisiting some of them are, like, I remember this now. How did I forget about this? So
if you listen to the audio commentaries in the podcast, I do audio commentaries after I've done the episode. It explains a lot of the references and the thinking. If you really want to go that deep and listen to me wax on about all the clever things I did.
Okay. All right. Well, it's about time. I gotta go to work. I got stuff to do. I'm falling asleep right now. So I really appreciate you. This was a great conversation. Definitely, There's definitely going to be a part 2 because there's always a sequel nowadays and everything that we do. So every time I have a guest, I'm like, this isn't going to be the last time we talk. There's going to be more episodes coming out that I do want to talk to about. Maybe go a little bit more into spoiler territory with Voyager season 8. And I was just curious if there's anything else you want to plug or promote.
So I hope to re-release 5 and 6 this year and publish 7. I'm halfway through writing 7. But if people want to check out the story, you can go to the podcast, any podcast app, just type in Voyager Season 8, and that will give you the commentaries as well. And there's the YouTube channel if you just want to watch it on YouTube, but there's no visuals except for the animation. So the YouTube channel is TrekkieTrekTrekker. You can see the name in the chat. And the podcast just says Season 8, or just type Season 8 anywhere, Voyager Season 8, and you'll find it.
All right. All right, cool. Well, thanks.
So maybe we should chat again, maybe when I finished episode 8. So you've got 4 episodes to get your teeth into.
Okay. Do you think that'll be this year, or do you think that'll be?
I want to. I've got some ideas to speed up the workflow, and I'm going to try and implement them after I've finished episode 7.
Okay.
Which is a Harry Kim episode, by the way, a Lieutenant Harry Kim episode.
Lieutenant. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. So he got a double promotion.
Yeah, he just skipped 2 ranks.
So he went from ensign to full lieutenant.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Harry did get that promotion. It just didn't happen at Ellen Voyager. So
right.
All right. But yeah, Jonathan, thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and everybody, be on the lookout for more Wheel of Time book club streams. I'm planning on resuming that series and hopefully finishing it this year. So we got through 6 out of the 14 books. I've been really slow in reading it. I'm a slow reader in general. So book club will be coming back. There'll be another Chilporial next week. I'll be doing with Pips, one of the White Cloaks. Definitely be talking about Wheel of Time and other shows and whatever he's been up to. And then there's going to be more Chilporials down the line. I have a few that are set and there are a few that are up in the air. So we'll see how that goes. Videos, I do plan to make some more video retrospectives again. That was the other aspect of my channel. I don't just do live chillporials. I actually have made videos and video recommendations. I do eventually want to do a Star Trek retrospective on the original series, and maybe like Rowan. I don't know if you're familiar with the channel Rowan J. Coleman, but he went through he made retrospectives of every Star Trek show. I kind of want to do something like that, but go even deeper than him. So, yeah, so that's something I want to do down the line, of course, along with, video game, TV recommendations, movie retrospectives, and whatnot. So that's my goal. I actually didn't do much last year. This year I want to do more. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for me. So yeah. Other than that, everybody take care, stay safe, have a good weekend, stay corporeal, and definitely follow in the description. Check out Star Trek Voyager Season 8 if you watch Voyager. Follow Jonathan, follow TrekkieTrekTrekker on X, and subscribe to his channel. That's all the links are in the description. So everybody, take care and have a good night.